I have this intro that I just keep doodling different notes as I change how I read things sometimes. At some point I need to. Oh, hello there.
Redo it.
Redo it, yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
This is before Behind the Media.
Hey, how's his framing? Because it looks like we're cutting off Dan's head.
Yeah, it looks like that in the monitor, but
Little bit.
Okay.
and that's what we do. We
Yeah, tilt up a little bit.
I'm
we
actually
are
gonna try and widen up first, and we're wide.
you're as wide as you can go.
In fact, while you're doing that, I will move this little bit.
There you go. Look at this. You are watching live adjustments of our cameras. Oh, you know what? It keeps popping down.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
And I don't need to go into the reason why. People know, right?
The other way. There. Up too high.
No. Watch what happens.
Oh, because it drifts down.
Right.
So you put it way high and then it drifts down. But now you're to move the camera over the other way. You moved it more that way. Yeah, I think so, right? No, because you want to catch a little bit too far. Yeah, I think.
You want to have both the sign and the monitor in a little bit, right?
I think so.
That's easy.
However, Mr.
Works.
Director likes it. There you go. And you got to see tutorial 101 of behind the scenes of how cameras are before Behind the Media.
That's right. And the fact that I'm actually your videographer,
Yeah, that you were over there framing it.
It's pretty pathetic.
We know we're in trouble, right? But Steven signed off on it.
That's
so
all we care about.
Yeah, he has the eyeballs on it. And we have a hot show, as hot as our fireplace today. Hit it, Steve.
You're tuned in to Behind the Media. Dan Lothian and Jimmy Young bring 70 years of award-winning broadcast experience to the table. From newsrooms across the country, behind anchor desks and in the field, they've seen and covered it all. And now they are here to take you behind the media.
You're going to have to embrace technology. If you're an educator,
Oh, I'm embracing it.
I want you to use the
can
phone
use it. No.
to help teach these
You
kids.
don't need to do that. I was covering the president in China, and we did a behind-the-scenes video. This is a gong, or
No, not a gong, a bong.
A
with
bong.
a B.
That's right. Did I say
The
gong?
gong is a
That's
gong
right.
show.
I said gong.
Gong
Bong.
makes noise.
Bong. Why is it, Jimmy? Why?
Because sex sells, Dan.
True, but it's only part of the answer. It is. You have to be more creative now to be able to tell a story, and sometimes it's just a before and after picture and saying which one do you want to be. Should Fox News be excluded from Democratic primary debates? The big debate over the debates. Are we opening up a can of worms?
Or another can. Have you figured out the right way to cut the cord? It's a lot easier or a lot more complicated, depending on who you are and what age you are.
That's right. The NBA is wrestling with millennials as their media consumption habits impact the ratings game.
And bites behind the media, including another Hollywood scandal. What day is it? A risky lightning shot, and the PBS NewsHour heads west.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling.
Wait. I got it.
Yeah, I know. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook, use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter, and listen on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and the CLNS Media Network. On this show, we're diving into the controversy over the DNC blocking Fox News from the debate game. But first, today's episode is powered by Away, thoughtful standards for modern travel. Away makes suitcases for the way we all travel, with features like an ejectable TSA-approved battery or a built-in front pocket and a range of wonderful, beautiful rainbow colors and materials that suit your travel style. For $20 off a suitcase, visit awaytravel.com and enter promo code CLNS. So, Jimmy, this has been, I think it was since midweek of this week, we have been hearing the rumbles and the complaints and the pushback and just the controversy over this decision by the DNC to basically disallow Fox News from participating in these debates. Now, I know that was music to your ears.
No, actually,
it wasn't?
No, I don't think. I don't think
Mr.
any
Left
news,
of Left?
Yes. I don't think
Wow.
any news organization should be banned from any news event, including something like the debates. Now, they're not banning them from the event.
Well, they can show up.
But they
Participation.
can't-
They're not going to be participating in it. You're not going to have a Chris Wallace, handling, moderating, or anything like that. I'm sure they can show up. They're not going to, but you're not going to be, hosting the thing.
Right. And is that, by the way, if you host a debate,
Yeah.
you're just asking questions or throwing out topics that were pre-agreed upon. Am I wrong or
no,
not?
No, you're not.
So you're
no.
How much preparation? In other words,
there's a lot of preparation. In fact, I
amongst all of the people in part
at
of
that network.
But not with the debate candidates.
No,
they don't know what's going on.
Of course not. Why would you set them up with answers and questions?
They have PR people that are going to tell them what those questions are going to be.
I mean, there are only so many questions.
Correct.
There are a few left field questions.
That's my point.
Right. They're being prepped by their people. They're not being prepped by the networks.
Correct. So that was my point.
And just a little behind the scenes here. So how it worked at CNN is that when they were gearing up for a debate, you have the Washington bureau chief, all the best political team on journalism or TV, whatever the tagline was. Everybody pulls questions.
Right.
They say, hey, give us your questions, what we should be paying attention to, and so forth. In addition, the White House correspondents, we were asked to provide some questions as well. So we would submit a list of questions, and then there was this very secret committee that would decide ultimately what questions were asked. Remember, there was that whole controversy when one of our contributors,
I remember that.
leaked, Donna, who leaked a couple of questions to the Hillary camp, and that was controversial. That never happens because they really keep a tight lid on how those questions are prepared.
But it's a human who's delivering those questions.
Yes.
And they are just questions.
Yes.
They are not supposed to be opinions.
No,
this is how I feel about this question, this topic.
Exactly.
How do you feel, Mr. Candidate or Mrs. Candidate?
Right, but as you know, Jimmy, pretty much anything and everything that has been happening is being blocked or allowed based on where you sit in the church,
right.
which side of the aisle. Everything. I mean, it could be a game now is controversial. It becomes political.
Right.
You know?
And we've talked about this as almost a civil war going on in this country right now between the lefties and the righties and the Democrats and the Republicans. And everybody seems to forget that we are supposed to be
Americans
together.
Yes. Yeah.
And in fact, the American experience has come under attack during this Civil War, too.
Yeah. What is the American experience now? I kind of forgot.
Said before, after
lost the map to the American experience.
Because I thought we were a nation of immigrants, and maybe that has perhaps taken a left or a right turn, depending on which or
it collided at the
which way you're going on that road.
But so just to provide a little bit more context here for those, and I always point this out, there are people who I guess sleep under a rock, but we refer to them as those people who don't have a clue about what's going on, and so you would have had to have not had a clue to understand why they decided to do this. And the reason for it is that there was this New Yorker story that came out, and basically what it did is that it showed a very cozy and even cozier relationship between Fox News and President Donald Trump. I don't know that I was shocked by it, but I think that it's one thing to think that a network is pro a certain party, and there's another thing to find out more details that paint a portrait of it's the mouthpiece. You know, it's like a coordinated, connection.
They're brain hacking us. Oh, no. That's what they're doing.
You always find a way to bring in brain hacking.
Because they're taking advantage, I believe, as you know, of people that haven't taken the time to educate themselves about all sides to issues.
Yes.
Okay? And because of the hateful doctrine that has evolved in the last few years, led by you-know-who, and fed by him, I might add, we tend to jump quickly to hatred and negative stories, and it's really depressing. It bothers me. I can't. You know how you say unless you live under a rock? I've been under that rock.
Yeah, well, I bury my head sometimes.
And as and as you know, I was a sports guy, not a news guy, because there's no way as a news guy I wouldn't be babbling and crying and being emotional at every story, every horrible story.
Yeah, but now you would do that as a sports guy too, because there's a lot of crazy stuff happening in sports that has connections to politics, and we don't need to go down that road. But it's just as crazy. No, we could be reporting on the flower show or the dog show, and I guarantee that at some point there would be a dog running across with a pro-Trump hat and another one which says I only turn left, and all of a sudden the dog show becomes controversial.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of how it is now. But anyway, I mean, this is kind of my concern about it. And I agree with you. I mean, ultimately I think that it is wrong to exclude any news organization. And Chris Wallace, who has hosted these things before, it is news. It's not whatever you think of Fox or whatever you think of MSNBC. Right. These guys are there to ask questions, not partisan questions, just questions. And I think it's wrong because now you are opening a can of worms. Already Trump is saying, oh, if that's the way you're going to play, then during the general election, you're not going to see me showing up at those, fake news, as he calls it, run debates. Right. So that's happening, and it's just further driving that wedge between
everybody.
Right, and so if you exclude those from the right from something that should be open to everyone, you can't complain when the right then starts shutting the door on the left.
Right. And by the way, and it was the right that actually created the door in the first place, Dan.
Well, there is a lot of door creating by, I think, both sides. I think everyone.
You're such a centrist.
No,
you won't lean one way or another.
But everyone. There's a lot of blame. You can say that some have louder voices, but there's plenty of blame to go around. I mean, yes. Everyone is in this wrestling match together.
Yeah.
I wanted to read this statement, and this story I'm attributed to Pointer. They were aggregating a lot of different aspects of the story, and I thought it was a great article. But they had a statement from Tom Perez, who's a DNC chairman, explaining the reasoning behind boxing out Fox News from the debates, and again, not attending the debate but participating, being the host of the debate. He said, quote, "I believe that a key pathway to victory is to continue to expand our electorate and reach all voters. That is why I've made it a priority to talk to a broad array of potential media partners, including Fox News." Because, of course, Jimmy, Fox News, there had been indications early on that Fox News would, in fact, be doing one of these primary debates. However, he goes on to say, recent reporting in the New Yorker on the inappropriate relationship between President Trump, his administration, and Fox News has led me to conclude that the network is not in a position to host a fair and neutral debate for our candidates. Therefore, Fox News will not serve as a media partner for the 2020 Democratic primary debates.
I'm listening and I'm like saying, okay.
Yeah.
Look, this country, as you know, Dan, was founded on free speech.
Yeah.
Okay, we've talked about this, and
you may not like it.
You may not like what's being said,
right.
But and you know what? And I understand. However, there are certain things. Who's judging appropriate and not appropriate? And I think that, again, well, that's what I mean.
Everybody is.
Right. We all,
and
everyone
has their own version of what that is.
We are so judgmental as a society right now.
Yeah, because I'm judging you right now because you have a striped sweater on, and they're not stripes all the way to the top. So you're discriminating against the top of your sweater, Jimmy. I'm going to judge you for that.
I'm just wearing
the damn thing. And it's partly blue, which means that it's partisan. Oh. Yes. Why aren't you wearing something that would be more in keeping with my down the middle kind of, thinking?
Had I known that you were this sensitive to this issue, Dan, I would have consulted you before I got dressed this morning.
Of course, if you're listening and you think Dan's nuts, no, I'm just making a point.
No,
that
Jimmy's the nuts one in this crowd. All right, I'll take that.
I'm making the point that just about anything, including a sweater, can divide us these days, including the division between the top of your sweater and the bottom of your sweater. Right, that's how nuts it is.
It is, and somehow, Dan, this has to change.
Yes, I don't know if it will in our lifetime.
No. It has to change. Look, isn't change the most searched keyword in an election?
Yeah,
It
probably.
can be. It's one of them, right?
Because the economy, people are searching for change in their pocket.
Well, that's a different kind of change. I understand that. But point being, again, if you want change, vote here.
Yes.
If you don't want change,
it's what helped Obama win the White House.
Quo.
It
right,
was just
exactly
one word,
right.
change.
That's exactly
You don't have to say anything else, just change. That means, well, you just want change.
So now you want, again, you already have a majority of voters in this country who did not want this current sitting president there.
But we can't.
I'm not going to get into the Electoral College and all this because I think it's stupid to have it now. It doesn't make any sense to me. It was a 18th century creation.
But we can't let the politics or something like the DNC, influence the media, the content, who asks questions. And I know they have a right to do it. They can say we don't like that person to be sitting in that chair, but to completely keep them out of the process of being a partner for something like this, I think you have to be able to separate the crazy stuff that happens around a network and individual journalists.
Well, again, and we've talked about the line between being a journalist and being a talk show host.
Right.
And there is a difference.
Yes,
Whether
there
the
is.
public recognizes that or not, there is a difference.
The public doesn't get it.
I
They
understand.
paint
and I
with a
think
very broad brush.
again, it's why we need some more subscribers so we can explain this to
Yeah,
people.
we've
okay?
been splaining.
We've been explaining.
We've been splaining. So anyway, there's. Did you have more?
Of course, I had
Yeah.
a lot more on it, but my point is, if you were the judge,
Yeah.
and you're a moderate, you have to moderate this divide between these two sides, right?
Well, yeah. Yep.
What's the obvious compromise?
What's the obvious compromise? Go to Switzerland and hold it there. That's always the compromise.
Go to Amsterdam.
Yeah,
I don't know about you,
Switzerland,
pal.
it's all peace of love over
Switzerland,
there.
I got chocolate, and Amsterdam, I
There-
got other
that's
things.
the
I'm
way
just
to-
going to say. I'm just going to leave it out
No,
there.
leave it there.
I'm going to leave it out there. So what would you do?
No, that's what I would do. I'd go to Switzerland. No, I think.
Come on.
What
What's
if I
the
have
most
to-
obvious thing?
I don't know. What, to bring world peace? Is that what
No,
you're asking?
you have a Fox person
Yes.
sitting next to a CNN person, or excuse me,
Yeah, but that's
an
not-
educated person
that's-
sitting next to an uneducated
Yeah,
person.
no, I don't. That's forced. I think
Well,
just
well,
open
hang
it
on.
up. Open it up
Oh,
to everyone.
well,
That's what it should. Keep it the way it was. There was nothing wrong with the way it was. To your point, separate the craziness that happens in prime time from news. Separate the craziness that happens in the front office from news. If you can do that, then there's not an issue here.
Yeah.
You know, who cares? There are a lot of crazy owners who are part of, some big media company out there. You don't hold the content or what journalists can do all the time hostage based on what an owner thinks.
Sinclair Broadcasting.
Well, yes, there is Sinclair.
Oh,
but
Dan?
that's different. If Sinclair Broadcasting is influencing the content of the newscast, that's a different question.
Which
I'm
we know
no.
they're trying to do.
No, I know that, but I'm
Okay.
saying that you can't. If in fact it is ownership saying one thing and then news being allowed to cover news, then you can't group them together. Sinclair is clearly has bundled the two together, and that's where the confusion comes in.
Okay,
Anyway, before
fair
we
enough.
go, I just wanted to say that an executive of Fox News said the following about this: "We hope the DNC will reconsider its decision to bar Chris Wallace, Brett Baer, and Martha McCollum, all of whom embody the ultimate journalistic integrity and professionalism." That was a quote that we pulled from the Pointer article. So, look, I don't know that this is going to be the end of it. I hope that they will reconsider. There's plenty of time. I think we often will cover the story and then what's going on behind the scenes negotiations. And there is some kind of, I think, in the interest of upholding what journalism is all about, I hope that calmer minds will prevail with a good solution here.
So remember this. We've talked about this before,
Yeah.
that the sitting president really didn't think he was going to get elected,
Yeah.
and was going to start a media company
Yeah.
had he not been elected.
And he still will.
And he's going to buy Fox.
He doesn't have enough money to do that.
Well, don't say that, because as you know, this guy prints it in his basement and doesn't pay taxes.
No,
on it.
I think he tells you. I think he tells you he prints it. I've never seen the basement. If you like this episode, or if you have seen the basement,
you hate
let
me.
us know. Like us on Facebook. Hate Jimmy. Send all hate mail to Jimmy. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. Also, drop us a line at info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com. The NBA is wrestling with millennials as their media consumption habits impact the ratings game. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook, use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter, and listen on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Away, thoughtful standards for modern travel. Away makes suitcases for the way we all travel, with features like an ejectable TSA-approved battery or built-in front pocket and a range of colors and materials that suit your travel style. For $20 off a suitcase, visit awaytravel.com and enter promo code CLNS.
How do you spell that again?
CLNS.
Okay, CLNS.
CLNS. When we first started doing this partnership with them, it was hard to spit that out. I would say C, but
Now I say it almost every 30 seconds
Exactly.
for a lot of reasons.
Exactly. Yeah. So here we go, Jimmy. This is up your alley with what's going on in the NBA.
I read the article and sent it to you, and then, of course, I didn't print it. So that's okay. but I did read it, and I certainly understand the issues involved here.
Yeah, the Commissioner Adam Silver was in town over at MIT and was talking about a whole host of things having to do with the NBA. He was talking about how, I mean, we've seen on television a lot of childish behavior from some of these NBA players. They were whining, and so he addressed some of that. And we're not going to go into that today, but there was that was part of it, right? Where there's
we also said that everybody's melancholy. Everybody's just kind of...
They're depressed. Yeah. He was pointing out that these young men, some of whom come from bad backgrounds, they make a lot of money or whatever, but there's
not enough.
Not enough to quell the angst, if you will.
Did you hear Charles Barkley call out Kyrie Irving?
No, I did not.
Okay, so let's cut to the chase.
What did Sir Charles do?
He basically told Kyrie to just shut up and play.
Shut up and make your money. Count your money.
Exactly,
shut up and count your money.
And don't be a baby about it.
Exactly.
And just play. Be a mature adult. Which is a riot.
It's hard. It's great initially.
It's a riot because it's consider the source.
Yes, he was always a baby.
Yes,
Sir Charles.
I'm glad you noticed that.
Yes, Sir Charles was he wasn't making as much as the babies are making now, but
there's a very interesting challenge. For the NBA.
Yes.
And it goes to the next episode of Behind the Media, too.
Yes.
It's about the fact that pretty much these millennials, these 18 to 34-year-old people, young people, they're still younger than me. They're all young enough to be my kid.
They're young, although they're getting older.
They are slowly getting older. But
right, Stephen? They are getting older?
Yeah, we are.
Good job.
The only correct answer is yes.
On the way to getting older,
right.
Okay, they are looking at content and differently than the people, older people, and those who are in charge of media.
Right.
I mean,
they aren't watching cable TV. They aren't signing up and paying the $59.99.
It's not cord cutters.
No,
they're
it's cord nevers. Right. And they don't. The only time they're watching cable news or any kind of fixed appointment viewing kind of stuff is when
live sports.
That's
and
the only
is
time.
The last remaining, and it's always the most popular. It's very interesting. I think it was in this article in 2008. The top 13 out of the top 100 TV shows were sports.
Mm-hmm.
In 2018, 93 of the top 100 shows that were sports
on
television. So that tells you that people are not watching television. It's not appointment viewing anymore. It's
they're not watching the way that we watch.
It's on-demand entertainment.
Right.
And
we should point out that while this is ultimately impacting the ratings for the NBA are actually pretty good.
They're very good now.
They have great ratings.
Internationally.
Basketball is, unlike some of the other sports here, like baseball and other American sports, basketball is kind of a universal sport.
Yes.
People enjoy it in places like Asia, for example.
Yes.
They play basketball. It's an easy sport to just, put a ring up and throw a ball. And
James Naismith, he was not a brain surgeon. He was a gym teacher. And he put a rim up there, and he said, put a little peach basket up there.
It was a basket.
He said, "Come on, boys, here's a ball."
That was a question on my 8th grade PE test on basketball.
What? Who invented it?
Who invented it? And what did they put up on a pole or something?
Do you know what town invented volleyball?
I thought you were going to say basketball. I was getting. I have no idea what
Steve, hang on.
Steve, do you know?
Steve, our millennial, knows because he visited it with me.
Oh, really?
Yes, Steve. Where did volleyball begin?
Holyoke.
Holyoke, Massachusetts.
Volleyball began there?
And that's where the Volleyball Hall of Fame is, too.
Didn't even know there was a Volleyball Hall of Fame.
This fact, courtesy of Alex Morse, the mayor of Holyoke, Massachusetts, who we got to interview a couple weeks back.
Well, interesting.
So I just thought I'd throw that in there. By the way, the demographic for volleyball is completely different than the demographic for the NBA. Let's just say. All right?
So here's I wanted to quote a little bit from this article, and it was talking about how the target demo, which is the millennials, that's where
18 to 34
they all believe that there's money there. I'm not sure I totally agree with it, but nonetheless, everyone's flocking there.
Mm-hmm.
They have little interest in subscribing to the traditional pay TV bundles we've been talking about, like their parents did.
Right.
So here's how this has impacted the media partners. So those are like the ESPN and TNT.
Yep.
Right. It says in the last 8 years, ESPN has lost north of 14 million linear subs.
Yep.
Right.
Subscribers.
Right. Exactly. While TNT has lost its footing in nearly 11 million households.
Right.
That's it's eroding. It's like the house on a hillside that used to have a big backyard, and now it's. What do you mean it's not eroding? Of course it's eroding.
We're going to bring Nielsen into this in a minute. Okay.
Yes, we are, and you hate them.
I hate them,
right?
Because they've.
I just gave you numbers.
Why
They're worse.
is it?
They've lost. How can negative be a positive?
It's not.
Show me some math here,
I
Jimmy.
guarantee.
Reverend Jimmy.
I'm going to. And again, you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to care. Whatever.
I have to listen to you. I got
headphones
headphones
no
on.
Choice, right? That's why I like hanging out here. There are more people watching basketball now than ever before.
Right, but I'm not arguing that point. What I'm saying is that the households,
shame on
as they were
ESPN
registered,
and TNT
they're losing.
for waiting around for this to happen. And by the way, TNT has an app. ESPN
yes, they do.
has an app.
They have an app.
Yep.
Yes.
And they should be able to measure who's on that app.
Well, yes.
Hang on a second.
But they're not just
Think about the
watching
whole
on the
privacy
ESPN app.
thing. I get that. It's a specific, if they have something live on that's like an NBA game, they should know, hey, look, we had 14 million people on our app at 7:30, but now that the game started at 8, it's up to 18 million.
Yeah. But you know what else, Jimmy? It's not just about watching the entire game. It's people like me. For example, how do you think I watch I loved basketball growing up. I don't have time to watch basketball. How do you think I'll throw this out to Steven as well. How do either of you think I figure out what the highlights were, how our game went when I wake up in the morning?
Back in the day?
No. Back in the day, there was only one way to do it.
All right, I'm going to say SportsCenter.
Okay.
Post-game show analysis.
Okay, neither one.
Okay.
I wake up in the morning, I go to my Instagram feed, and I pull up Bleacher Report, and Bleacher Report has the hottest clips of every single game that happened the night before, and that's all I need to see. Now, if I'm doing that, an old dude, imagine the young people. So it's not just about going to ESPN's app or going to TNT's app. It's that there's so many other places where I can get my fix on what happened in the game, after the game, whenever. One particular player I want to focus on, I can find something that just feeds me on that. That's
especially if you have a fantasy team.
Exactly.
Which I believe has killed sports in a lot of ways,
but
too.
That's the difficulty of this. It's a moving target. It's not as if, we talk about in the United States and terrorism. It was a lot easier when we had the enemy in the Soviet Union. You lob something there, they lob something at you. Right. When it became terrorists, which are lone people working you don't really know where and I'm not making don't say, oh, you're making a connection between terrorism and sports. No, I'm not. What I'm saying is that when you have a moving target, when people have access to consume things in many different ways, it is hard to truly measure what your audience is.
And again, let's talk about the money, because money dictates a lot of things in this world. The advertisers and sponsors who support the NBA are buying upfront media before the ratings come out, which, as I've talked to you about this, I can't understand why they don't just bill these companies for the audience that was delivered based on the delivery of it.
Why would you want to do that? No, you want to get money in your pocket. You want to get money in your pocket as soon as you can.
Because it's been done that way forever.
Exactly.
But
I like that model.
But the internet, you can measure how many people are now online.
But don't
how many people have watched it on video.
That.
They want the back-end information about where people are and how they are and what they're buying and what their habits are. And, we're talking about privacy and access. It's access to the back-end information that's being delivered by the live sport event that is the most valuable thing here.
Yeah, but Jimmy, you know how it's always been handled, right? You bill them for what you think you're going to get, and if you don't, you give them make goods.
I understand that.
That's the old model.
Right.
It's always worked that way.
Maybe it's time to take a look at this. As you know, I am building a little media company of my own, and I've considered this. Start billing people based on, hey, when we get 1,000 viewers, I'll bill you $50. So it's a cost per 1,000 of $50. We get to 10,000, I'm going to bill you for $500.
See, that takes a lot of work.
I disagree. It's a software program more than anything else.
It takes a lot of work.
Okay.
It takes a lot of work, and it means that it's a longer period of time before money gets in your pocket. And that's why this model has been embraced for so long. I bill you for something that I tell you I'm going to deliver. and then
underperforming,
you pay me the money
over
for that
promising
upfront.
and under delivering.
You're not over promising. You're promising, and depending
And
on
then
what
you're-
the forces are, it's either over promising or under
and
promising.
you're making good on delivering
Yeah.
but not the same eyeballs at the same time because
No.
it's a live event, and once it's over, it's over.
Yeah, look. I don't think you throw out that old model. I think you have to figure out a way to integrate the new model into the old model. That's just smart.
I'm going to agree to you in principle. I
Yeah.
don't know in practice how that's ever going
Well,
to happen.
neither do I either,
Unless
but
you
it sounded good.
unless you start a media network like I am, really from the ground up, from
Well,
zero
that's not
viewers
gonna,
and zero
that's
subscribers.
not going to change anything. I don't think. I mean, it's so complicated. It's the system. It's beyond just one entity. It's figuring out how to. It's going to be one person who somehow has the magic thing, the magic app that can take in everything from everywhere and measure everything at all times.
Fair and accurate
Right.
rating that dictates how many people are
Right.
watching and creating the audience. I'm all for that, by the way.
But I don't know if it'll happen.
Nielsen's out Monopoly last time I checked, and everybody
Yeah.
kind of lets them float. And again, I've talked about how media companies tend to stay in their comfort zone.
Yes, they do.
Where they have made their money because they're businesses. And I know every year you want to up your profits in business because that's how you stay in business in a capitalist
But
society.
it's how our world is in general.
Right.
Rarely does someone create a movie that's out of the box. It fits into action, whatever, because that's what they know people know. And it's dangerous to go outside of that because if it's a flop, it's an expensive flop.
Right. So I'm not, I mean, again, we were talking about the NBA, right?
Yes.
Can I just say something about Adam Silver?
Yes.
I think he's the best commissioner in sport.
Oh, well, I'd give him a silver.
David Stern before him did a hell
Yeah.
of a job too, saving a league back in the early 70s. When
So you
Larry
say
Bird
he's
and Magic
golden,
Johnson.
not just a silver.
I think, oh, God. Sure, I'm saying he's golden.
I thought that was pretty good.
I'm sure, yes.
I like that a lot.
All right,
And
all
if
right.
you liked it, tell us about it. Let us know. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. And also drop us a line at info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com. Was that bell, that bell sort of, did it feel like a halftime bell to you?
Do you want it to go a little longer?
I know
a little perfunctory?
Yeah, it felt like
I was
like
just getting it out of the way.
Yeah, like the bell on a door, like a door opened, the bell went off, but not
Dan,
like you
did you
really
hear it?
rang the.
Did you hear it?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
It just didn't have spirit behind it.
Okay, that's fine. It has nothing to do with spirit. It's an edit cue for this program.
Why would you want to give that away, Jimmy? The bell is
Because we're
part of
behind the media.
Yeah, but the bell is an integral part of the. There we go. It's time for halftime. Today's now he doesn't shut up.
Salvation Army here.
That's good. It's not Christmas time. Today's episode is powered by Away, thoughtful standards for modern travel. Away makes suitcases for the way we all actually travel with features like an ejectable TSA-approved battery, a built-in front pocket, and a range of colors and materials that suit your travel style. Away suitcases are also made from lightweight, durable German polycarbonate or aluminum alloy. The interior compression system, I always talk about this with Jimmy, it lets you pack more in less space. So because Jimmy, he likes to put his suitcase through and not carry it on, right?
I like to check it.
Right,
Correct.
you like to check it.
Right.
But this is a way that you don't have to check it because you can fit more into the suitcase.
And then it becomes
Then-
heavy, and then I get a back spasm when I
Yes.
try to put it up above.
But it's polycarbonate and aluminum alloy, so it's very
Oh,
light.
it's light.
With
Oh.
one finger, you
But
can
if
lift
I
this
put
thing.
more stuff in it, maybe
It's
I
still
threw a
very
few more
light.
bricks in just for
Well,
heck.
if you're traveling with bricks, that's another problem. They come with 360-degree spinner wheels, guaranteeing a smooth ride. There's the TSA-approved combination lock, a removable, washable laundry bag. I'll tell you, these suitcases are just incredible. For $20 off a suitcase, visit awaytravel.com and enter promo code CLNS. That was in between lackluster and exciting.
I had no idea you'd be judging me on my bell ringing. That was not part of the deal, okay?
That was it?
No.
Oh, okay. So, anyway, that sort of threw me off a little bit. Have you figured out?
Thank you very much. I usually do. That's my
I
role
know,
here.
there you
isn't it?
go. Have you figured out the right way to cut the cord? It's a lot easier or a lot more complicated depending on who you are and who you talk to. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook, use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter, and listen on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Away, thoughtful standards for modern travel. Away makes suitcases for the way we all travel with features like an ejectable TSA-approved battery or built-in front pockets, and they come in a range of colors and materials that suit your travel style. For $20 off a suitcase, visit awaytravel.com and enter promo code CLNS. So, I'll tell you, Jimmy, you have been preaching, and this comes, now we're coming into the church section of our podcast, because Reverend Jimmy, there's always a topic for those of you who are just tuning into this podcast and you don't know the history of our show. There's always or Jimmy. There always comes a point where Jimmy goes into Reverend Jimmy.
I preach.
Role. You preach, right?
I preach.
Right?
Part of my
is that right, Stephen, our
I
engineer, director? Right? There's always a preach section, right?
He's
Sometimes
playing.
I feel like I'm right in the middle of the sermon.
There we
All right,
there we go. And so
My teaching style.
There you go. And so the thing that you have been preaching a lot about has been this notion of cord cutting. Why?
Yes.
Because you have actually cut the cord.
I've tried to.
You've cut the cord and then you reattach the cord.
Correct. Well,
and then you did partial cord cutting.
And the reason for all of these things is
Yes.
I have a partner
Yes.
Who I dearly love.
Yes.
Okay.
Who will like our show from time to time.
Who works extremely hard.
Yes.
Who does not want to learn new tricks when it comes to technology, because when she comes home, she wants to be able to click on the TV
Yes.
and then play with her clicker through different.
Amen.
And this is what
I'm
I've done
on-
for the last
I'm
20,
100%
30
behind her
years,
on that.
Right? And it's, well, you two are a lot alike,
Yes,
as I
we
said
are.
many
Even
times.
though I've never met her, by
That's
the
right,
way.
I
Yes,
understand.
I've
But
known
you-
Jimmy for 1,000 years, but he refuses to introduce me to his.
Oh, that is so not true.
What, 1,000 years?
No, that I refuse to introduce you.
Well, we've made some
It
attempts.
has to do with the schedule, and she
I
works.
have I
freaking
canceled?
No.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Okay.
She works 60 hours a week.
I
in
work
corporate
62.
in corporate America for a challenging corporate environment.
Okay.
Let's leave it at that.
Okay.
And
Well,
a very
if she's
high
listening to
pressure
this
job.
podcast, perhaps in 2019 we'll get to meet her.
Yes.
Anyway, we digress. So you have this partner who, like me, likes to hit the clicker and get your TV and doesn't want to go figuring out, should I Hulu it? Should I
How do I
eBay
get
it?
to- right? Because
Should I
whether
Costco
you spend
it?
whether you spend $220 a month on entertainment on demand in your hands,
Yes.
or $180 a month,
Yeah.
which is what I've been able to bring it down to. It's about convenience and getting what you're used to getting.
That's what I
have
do.
left the cable in the main part of the house.
Yes.
And in my little cave in the basement where I go to take timeouts or whatever I have to do.
Which is like every night.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I have an over-the-air television antenna.
So that's you get the networks that way.
over-the-air TV.
Okay.
And by the way, it also gets you, Ion television. It gets you a lot of reruns, Cozy, flashbacks to the days, Cozy TV, and all the sub channels that are involved with the Boston market.
So you have that one off. What else do
I
you
have an over-the-air TV,
Okay.
and then I subscribe to Hulu,
Hulu,
because
okay.
Hulu gives me live TV, which is what Ty Burr in the Boston Globe. This was his article.
Right.
In fact, he wrote 2 articles on this.
One was so good.
One was so good. I love it.
Nice.
So good. He had to write
brought it
another
back
one, which
twice.
was today. Right, wrote it today. And he corrected himself because it had to do with Nesson and the Red Sox, which I found really funny, because that is still one of my main concerns, is going into the new Red Sox.
Can you watch
season.
the Red Sox?
They are the World Series champs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I think
Do you
yes,
remember that?
I do remember that.
Four now in the last 15, 20 years. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's crazy.
This
So
is a weird time.
I do like to watch Red Sox. Now, I'll also admit that I do not watch a full Red Sox game from the beginning to
Well,
the end.
you can't.
I can't.
It's-
I multitask
You-
during
you,
the baseball.
You grow
watching.
old watching because it's so long. I mean, I started a game without a beard one time and had a full-grown
I'm
beard
not
by the time it
surprised.
was over.
And anyway, what I like to do is time my naps right between the 5th inning and about the 7th inning.
Oh.
So I wake up and I see the end of the game. I've seen the beginning of
Oh,
the game. I've watched the
very-
whole game,
very-
and,
very
and I
good
can
strategy.
use Bleacher Report to check what I missed.
There you go. There you go.
I also like to record a lot of stuff. But anyway, Hulu plus live TV, which is about $45 a month.
Okay.
They
And what
just
else?
went up. By
And
the
what
way.
do you miss? What do you get HBO?
So Nesson is no, I don't get HBO.
So if
unless
you wanted
I wanted
HBO,
it.
how would you get that?
I'd have to pay for it.
And what if you wanted Showtime?
I'd have to pay for it through Hulu.
Okay. So this would be the
Right,
Hulu.
those are
so
premium
you can get,
services.
So you can get everything that you currently get through cable.
Right.
You can get it through Hulu. You just
Yes.
those are add-ons.
Right.
It's going to
But
cost you more.
There's also YouTube
so it's like
TV.
$50,000 by the time you're done.
No.
Right?
It's still, trust me, if you get to the point where you take the X hundred channels that you get through cable, traditional cable, okay, and the three biggies are Verizon and Comcast, Xfinity, and RCN, if you will. RCN is really not a biggie, but they're a minor player that offers similar services. And you can, if you compare them channel by channel, dollar to dollar, it's really about the same. And this goes back to me again. Why the hell am I not getting charged for what I'm watching when I'm watching it?
Yeah, but it's just so much work,
the technology,
Jimmy.
No, the technology. Create this app. There's so many brilliant people in Cambridge.
Right,
and
if there's
MIT.
one place.
Create an app that all I have to, you talked about this.
Right, that's right.
It's going to be on your phone.
Yeah, when they do that.
They get rid of the television remote and put it on your phone. By the way, why that hasn't happened yet, I'm really kind of surprised.
Well, you're right. And I think if it becomes...
Xfinity actually has...
They have something,
they have
but it's just for them.
Right.
Right. So here's the thing. I mean, in this article you pointed out, it talks about inertia. You know, it's like it's very difficult for you to try something new and do something different when you're used to a way that it's always been. And it is, and the second component of that is it's not just that I don't want to do it. It takes work. I don't want to have to remember, I've got to turn on the Hulu thing. I've got the Fire Stick. I've got to do. I just want to turn one thing on. I just want to watch it. I'd love for the cost to come down. I really would, because I think you are correct.
And
you are
would
paying
you be
for a lot
willing
of things.
to pay for what you watched when you watch it?
Yes, if I didn't have to have this and that and the other and and YouTube channel and this and all that, I just want one thing. I don't want to scroll on my TV to tap in to see what's on YouTube. I just want one thing that has everything I want. So maybe you up front you say these are all the channels I want. You order it into one little app somewhere, and that's what I can have with my clicker. I still like my clicker because I gotta ask where it is. But here's the interesting thing, and from this article,
you have these apps that can find your clicker.
Right. Well, yeah, I do know they do. Like I got my wife this thing that she can find her keys. So she goes to an app and she rings her keys because she loses them all the time. But I thought this was interesting, and Jimmy pointed out this article to me. He says that's the first, as you think. Tyberg, right. Yeah. And he says, the first step in thinking about cord cutting is that you have to ask a number of different questions. Like, what kind of television programming do you watch?
Right.
Where do you watch it? And where does it come from? And then you go to the whole thing of, is there a cheaper alternative to the way that I've been consuming my news? And I think, for us, it really does require a mental shift before you get into the, is this easier? Is this less expensive? For kids who have never had a cord, they're not cutting.
Right.
They're just
adapting.
They're just adapting to whatever the next thing is that
we
comes
don't
out.
adapt as older people. We don't like change.
We
we don't like change.
No.
And
unless it's
do you
spare
remember
change.
the first time you
I
sat
like spare
down?
change.
Do you remember?
That's the second time I've said that today.
Do you remember the first time you sat down at a desk and there was a computer staring at you?
Yeah, I think so.
You do remember that, right?
In grad school.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I was going to say, at some point in your life.
I did.
You
It was
sat
little
down
green
for the
letters.
First time.
It was little green letters,
Right.
and there was a floppy disk that was inside of it.
Right.
There really is such a thing, ladies and gentlemen, as a
Do we not
floppy
have that
disk.
on our museum? We don't have that on floppy disk on our museum.
I don't think we
have
have
8-track tapes, though.
Yeah, we don't
have
have any floppy disks.
So back to what I'm saying again is.
I remember the first time, yes. I remember when I sat down and yes.
So, but think about the difference. You needed to learn the computer to do your job or to work.
Right.
Okay? You're using the television set as a means for information and entertainment on your schedule when you want, and it's an escape for the most part.
It's not work.
From work.
Right, exactly. So that's why there's no urgency here for me.
Exactly.
Unless you can't afford to pay for your cable bill, then you will find another way to either get it for cheap or get it for free.
Exactly right. And by the way, a lot of people still don't understand that there's a lot of television out there.
That's for free.
That's for free.
Yes, there is.
I just want to say that. I mean, even my little
we don't want
LG
to encourage a lot of. Well, there's stuff over there are a lot of things that are paid things that are showing up for free too, because there are kids out there who will stream something to all their friends.
Do you remember the old black box?
What?
That was when cable first came out.
And
they had the black box that was not the one that's in the
airplane.
Not in the cockpit recorder, but the ones that would get you cable television without paying the cable company.
Well, there used to, even before that, Jimmy,
Yes.
there was a satellite.
Right.
And nothing was scrambled. So
Right.
you could just move around. I remember back in the day when I was working at a radio station and they used the satellite for audio purposes, bringing in the Mutual Network, for example.
Right.
I spun that baby around and got to watch HBO and watch all the Halloween movies one night on Halloween at the radio station.
Right.
Different times.
But scrambling a signal and all that is something else that probably needs to be explained a little bit. I can quickly, just a little
for those
anecdote
of you, a little
from my
behind
career.
the media. Yes.
A little anecdote from my career. New England Cable News, a 24/7 regional news channel in New England. In 1992 to 1995, the first 3 years of their existence, was distributing their content unscrambled on a satellite.
Oh.
And it allowed the call-in talk shows that I was a host of one of them. Mike Adams, Jim Browdy was one of the hosts too. In the Boston area, people know who he is. Won't return my calls anymore, but we know who he is. He knows who he is, and he knows who I am.
Well,
anyway,
you should have punched him that night.
No, he's much bigger than me. And anyway, point being, we would get calls from all over the country. Because
it was just
people
up
from
there.
Boston sports fans would get dishes if they were relocating to Idaho or to Washington or to Florida when George Steinbrenner called my show one night. So my point being is it was an unscrambled signal.
And these were big dishes. We're not talking about little
these are the
tiny
ones
dish.
These are the big dishes that used to be on display outside Fox 25.
Those giant ones,
right.
yes.
Those are the ones that were in your backyard as
Yeah.
opposed to little DirecTV pizza boxes.
Exactly.
So again, look, it's technology. The way we are getting our entertainment information has changed.
Yes, it has.
The millennials, the younger people who've grown up without a cord to pay for, are figuring out ways to get their entertainment, their news, free.
Yes.
Or at least they perceive it as free.
Well,
can we talk a little bit about that myth for a second?
No, I think. Well, yes, I think they do. Everything is paid for.
Right, and
everything costs.
Right, because those. In commercial television, those who are buying the commercials, selling their wares, their products, and their services on the commercial airwaves that are free,
they're expecting that your eyes will be
your
there to
dollar
see it.
is going into their pocket, or
Right.
at least a portion of it at some point if you buy their product or service.
Right. So if you're stealing
From yourself.
and hurting them in the end.
Right.
Not that we care.
Right. So that's my spiel. Was that preaching enough?
That was. I think you kind of I mean, I didn't shout out amen, so I don't think you hit the.
So I wasn't
you didn't
on
hit
my
like a
pulpit
10.
yet.
No, you
I'm
didn't.
not on the pulpit.
I think you were standing down
with the other people.
With
With
the
all the
other
little
people. Yeah,
people.
you got up close and personal with the audience. You didn't go up on the
Hung up.
pulpit.
That's cool.
So stay tuned for another edition when Jimmy does get up on the pulpit and start screaming and preaching the virtues of Behind the Media.
By the way, the mute button works really well on
It
that.
does.
Okay,
And some people do use it.
and they can't. It doesn't work on me.
Okay. If you like this episode, let us know. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. And drop us a line if you have any questions at info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com. You're listening to Bites Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media, the little itsy-bitsy water cooler bites, so you don't have to go searching for them. Like us on Facebook, use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter, and listen on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Away, thoughtful standards for modern travel. Away makes suitcases for the way we all travel, with features like an ejectable TSA-approved battery, built-in front pockets, a range of colors and materials that suit your travel style. For $20 off a suitcase, visit awaytravel.com and enter promo code CLNS. Okay, it's the lightning round. PBS going west. I didn't realize that PBS did not have any presence out there, the news hour, that they didn't have a presence out on the West Coast. I just took it for granted thinking that they did. Because that is the whole issue of there's a big time difference between what happens on the East Coast and the West Coast.
This is public broadcasting we're talking about?
Yeah. And
PBS,
Judy
public
Judy Woodworth. I know you don't like public, but whatever.
Can I get up on my pulpit now?
No, you can't get up on the pulpit because this is a bite, and that would take up the whole bite. But they're going to be hiring 6 people. They're doing a partnership with Arizona State University's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication.
Good group.
And this will allow them to do West Coast updates. A lot of things. This is kind of an interesting point here, Jimmy, is that we've talked about how fast the news, the news cycle is now.
24/7 news
exactly.
cycle.
And it used to be that when you wrapped up your show on the East Coast, 3 hours later, it was pretty much the same, newscast. It held, unless there was a big breaking news story, and then you updated it.
Right.
Well, now in this Twitter age, you do your show, and then 3 seconds later, it's old.
Yeah.
And so they want to have a way to stay relevant and current, and so they're opening this news operation in Arizona so that they can adapt to and move with the times.
You
so
said
that's kind of interesting.
it is interesting, and I'm gonna. You went back. You said something that I have to jump on. Besides PBS,
Oh boy, here we go.
You said the Twitter age.
Yes. Well, we're beyond that. Sorry. Okay. What do we call it? I know it's just a saying.
I understand. I get it's a saying, but
Yeah.
why is it Twitter age? I mean, if I'm not using Twitter, am I missing out on something? Because I've been trying to
you're
look
not.
at it again
I
and
don't
look
think
at the
you're missing
feed
out on
and
it.
see all the garbage
Well,
and
what
the
do you want me to
comments of
call
people.
it? What do you want me to call it?
It's 2019. It's the 21st century.
Right.
Things happen so fast in the
but what-
21st century.
Well, I know.
Modern
I want to tag
technology.
it with something. Modern tech. It's Steve.
Mobile.
Steven.
Call it the mobile.
Oh, that's boring. Steven's raising his hand. What do you like?
Millennial age?
Millennial.
Oh,
age.
God, they wanna own the millennial
Now they want to.
age.
Now he wants to own what
Well,
we call it.
Actually, that follows the definition of a millennial who believes that, okay, I finished my college. It's time for me to get a job. I should be running the company by now.
Yeah, and I should get something called after me.
Right.
Which
There's
is
no such thing as dues paying anymore.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness, these kids. Okay, lightning shot. Hey, this lightning shot. Did you take a look, Steve? Maybe can we post this on our site when we post the
video?
Video. Yeah,
I post the video.
Oh, you post it. Okay.
Yeah, but I'd have to find this image.
well,
and
it's
then
right
import
there.
it.
It's right there.
Okay, I'll
it's
look.
in the link of the story.
Right.
Have you
well,
read the
did-
story?
Yes. Yes.
So this is pretty fascinating. It is this guy who's a photographer who decides he wants to get the killer shot, almost
Right. The money
literally.
shot. Make it the money
well,
shot.
it could have been the killer shot.
Right. I understand
Right?
that too, because it's what the subject he was trying to capture.
Exactly.
Is uncontrollable.
Uncontrollable.
Right.
He was out. He's in Southern California. There was this amazing lightning storm going on out there, and the dude stands like at the end of a pier or a dock or something,
Holding a
There's
metal stick.
No, he's standing there with all of the things. There's this metal tripod and a camera. The ground is wet. He's around salt water. There's lightning everywhere, and really all he needs is just to give his last will and testament before he goes. Right.
Pretty much.
But he doesn't. He survives it, and it's an amazing photograph of multiple lightning strikes coming down. It's unbelievable. I thought it's not that often that we sort of go crazy over one photo, and this is one that I really like.
And think about it. It could end up in my classroom someday when I do the assignment of a picture says 1,000 words.
And that one did.
Please show me 1,000 words that will describe what I'm looking at here.
Yeah, no, definitely. That one is a keeper, and
Okay.
so it was worth a bite.
I got a bite.
Okay,
Okay.
go ahead, bite.
And it has a lot to do with the fact that I'm a co-host on this show, and I
Yeah.
have been engaged with a lot of conversation about culture, and that I really have kind of blocked out in my world in many ways. I'm talking about R. Kelly. No, I'm talking about R. Kelly.
He's an uncut. Yeah,
I
because you don't
didn't
know.
even know who the hell he was
You don't
before
know-
you brought him up
You
to
don't
me.
know like half the people who are
well,
that
again,
in like
and-
musicians or anything like that.
Well, again, I'm living in the 70s. I
Okay.
get it.
Living in
70s and
the
80s,
70s.
that's where my music taste is, and I love listening to it. And I guess what? I get to pay $8 a month to iTunes or whatever, and I listen to whatever the hell I want to do.
Living in the 70s and 80s.
Right,
Okay.
absolutely. And I do like over-the-air radio still, because I listen to sports talk radio, and I listen to my jocks. There's still
and
some
guess
jocks
what?
out there.
I like over the air radio with an antenna that's made out of metal that sticks above my car.
That
and
I'm
every
holding-
so often it goes
that I'm
bang
holding at the end of the dock
during a
waiting
lightning
for the
storm.
No, but
Anyway, R.
point-
Kelly.
I have no idea. R. Kelly did an interview with CBS this morning, right?
Right.
And
Gail
he
King.
denied all the stuff that had been a part of that.
Right. And he apparently had like 2 ex-girlfriends who were supporting him, for what it's worth, and said that the others are just out for money.
Look,
but-
and you know what? Money is a singular theme through a lot of these embarrassing things that have happened
That's
to
correct.
people over the last few weeks, months,
Right.
and years. Michael Jackson, his new documentary, the new documentary that was out about him, has caused a lot of controversy. And these two guys,
Documentaries are stirring up a lot of things.
yes, well,
Yeah.
because they're actually truthful it's a story
Right.
that you're actually telling a story from a different perspective than what is perceived out there as the truth.
And I can even jump on that, Jimmy. I think it's not only doing that, but it's taking a lot of pieces of the stories that have been told over decades and putting them in one place. And oftentimes you can see something and it upsets you. You can see it again, it can upset you. But it doesn't really drive you, to the next level until you see all those pieces together. It's like a puzzle, right? A piece can be interesting, but once you put it all together, it's like, oh, that's the picture. And it's a disturbing picture that we're getting.
Right. Oh, no, absolutely. And look, this is a he said, she said, and then she said, he said.
And we don't want to jump to conclusions here. We'll let the process play out.
But didn't we start off our first episode today talking about judgment and how we all judge each other?
Judge, yes. And we judge in this as well.
Did you see him yelling and jumping up and down and looking at the camera and
Gail
saying, I didn't do it?
And
Gail was very calm, which is obviously a very challenging thing to do.
No, but it's helped her now.
Was it believable?
No. I don't believe a single thing. There's been a lot of garbage out there about him over time. By garbage, I mean like bad stuff said about him, which is probably, there are allegations. So it's not as if it's someone who we've never seen any of this happening, and all of a sudden it comes out of nowhere. This has been an ongoing problem with him. And but we'll let the courts do the courts. Right now, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with child payment or something like that.
Silencing.
He hasn't paid. Right now, why he was arrested and placed behind bars was because he hadn't paid child support. So that's the latest
one. That is a jailable offense.
Yes, it is.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yes, it is.
So I have no problem with that.
No,
okay?
it is. Exactly.
But again.
But he apparently has no money. Who knows?
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Oh, I love that when I hear that, by
Yes.
the way. Yeah, I have to go back to my $8 million house, but I have no money.
Yeah, I have no money.
Right.
Although those guys do lose their money.
I understand. We all do.
Remember? Too legit to quit. What's his name?
You don't have to have
he
success.
Lost all his
By the
money.
way, you don't have to have a lot of success to lose money. I just want to say. I'm just throwing that out there, okay? You don't really have to,
No, all you have to have is $2 and you lose $2.
If you don't understand, right, if you don't have savings, then you're going to just spend all your money.
And bring a big posse along, you will lose all your money.
I got to ask a question about your career in a similar situation. I want to ask you, how the camera loves emotion.
Yes.
Have you ever been in an interview where you had to deal with a subject like R. Kelly did, who literally broke down, looked at the camera, and pleaded to the camera, i.e. the audience, that, hey, I didn't do these things. These are lies. Did you?
Yeah.
In other words, were you ever where Gail was?
No, well, not at that level.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember doing something live, but locally, I mean, I've done interviews with people who were emotional, either saying, I'm innocent. People coming. We did a lot of these people coming out of courthouses, and you do an interview with them
where their emotions are about as raw as because they've had to be quiet for an entire time. Now they go out on the steps.
Rarely does anyone say, "Yes, I did it. I'm guilty of sin." That's probably happened once.
Right.
Most of the time they're saying I didn't do it, and it turns out that they did. And speaking about Gayle King, she's been in the news as well beyond just the interview, but CBS apparently is trying to lock her in because there, as you know, there's a lot of scuttlebutt about shakeup at CBS because their ratings have not been, big secret there. The ratings have always been in the tank, but they are having problems with their nightly news program with Jeff Glor, who used to be in the Boston area, and the morning show. There are rumors about changes there, but Gayle is sort of seen as this person who people like. And she's gotten a couple of really big interviews recently, R. Kelly being one of them. So apparently there's this big ongoing effort to lock her into what will potentially be the largest contract of any single individual at CBS. I think over $12 to $15 million are the rumors per year. I'll take that.
I was going to say, I'm all for sharing the wealth that the broadcast networks make. A lot of money still to this day.
They do.
And the talent that are driving the audience should be compensated in the manner, and especially females versus males.
Right.
Okay? That female anchors versus male anchors, look at the differences in the salaries that they've had over the years.
I think over the years, it's changing now.
It is. Well, again, the Me Too movement and among other things, people were saying, that's not right,
Yeah.
And I mean, look.
But I think in general, a lot of the big ticket anchor salaries are dropping. So, the question is, will it drop to the point, will there still be that disparity as it continues to drop? Then one final thing, and this is, again, I want to make it clear, these are just salacious allegations, but Warner Media is, the CEO is being investigated for allegations that he had an inappropriate relationship with this actress, and then people around the actress apparently tried to force the company, Warner Brothers, to actually put her in some movies. I mean,
men behaving badly.
Yes, allegations.
It should almost be
allegations
a weekly thing. We can have men behaving badly. We just walk up and down. There's a million of them all the time.
Right.
And by the way, it is International Women's Day as we record this, and I am already on record as saying I get that females are the superior sex. I do not debate that.
It's the reason you are actually a female.
Exactly. And by the way, damn proud of it.
Yes,
God darn
are.
it.
Yes, you are.
Because
yes, you are.
they could do something I'll never be able to do, which is have a child. And they also have incredible intuition. They listen a lot better than we do.
Oh yes.
And they they even though they are more emotional beings.
Yeah.
I think that they're actually getting more and more confident about expressing their emotions instead of suppressing them.
Well,
and I respect that.
I'm glad you had that closing sermonette for
snuck it in, didn't I?
A hat tip
Reverend
to women.
Jimmy says.
Reverend Jimmy.
All right.
Okay, another exciting day, another exciting podcast. Thanks for listening and enjoying this podcast along with us. We know you enjoyed it, because we certainly did. Share it. Keep listening on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and the CLNS Media Network. For our director, Steve Helmuth, I'm Dan Lothian.
I'm Jimmy Young.
And now you know what's behind the media.